The dim light of the early morning filtered through the blinds, casting long shadows across the cluttered floor of the small apartment. The room was a chaotic mix of unwashed clothes, half-read books, and the remnants of last night's dinner. An old television flickered in the corner, its screen displaying the muted colors of a forgotten sci-fi show. Underneath the bed, in the cool darkness, something stirred. Kalia had been living there for nearly a month, her lithe, serpentine form coiled tightly within the small space. Her vibrant scales, a shifting blend of iridescent blues and greens, shimmered softly in the dim light. She stretched her elongated limbs, feeling the tightness in her muscles from the long hours of stillness. It was almost time. She had chosen this human carefully, observing him from afar before deciding he was the one. Jack was a solitary man, content with his quiet existence in the heart of the city. He was an engineer, working long hours at a tech firm, and his social life was minimal. He was the perfect candidate. Kalia had watched him closely, studying his routines, his habits, the way he moved through his days with a sort of resigned contentment. She had listened to his late-night conversations with himself, his voice tinged with loneliness as he pondered the mysteries of the universe. There was a depth to him, a quiet intelligence that intrigued her. And now, as the time approached, she felt a strange mixture of anticipation and something she could only describe as affection. Jack shuffled into the room, his hair disheveled and his eyes bleary from sleep. He was dressed in a rumpled t-shirt and boxers, his feet dragging as he made his way to the bathroom. Kalia watched him from her hidden vantage point, her heart beating faster as she prepared herself for what was to come. Today was the day. Jack returned to his room, running a hand through his dark curls as he contemplated the day ahead. Another long day at the office, another evening spent alone with his thoughts. He sighed, grabbing a pair of jeans from the floor and pulling them on. As he reached for a shirt, he noticed something strange, a faint, almost imperceptible movement from beneath his bed. He froze, his hand hovering over the fabric as his heart began to race. "Hello?" he called out hesitantly. There was no response, only a soft rustling sound. Cautiously, Jack knelt down, lifting the edge of the bedspread to peer underneath. His breath caught in his throat as his eyes met a pair of large, luminous orbs staring back at him. For a moment, he was paralyzed, unable to process what he was seeing. The creature beneath the bed was unlike anything he had ever encountered. It was feminine in form, with delicate features and a lithe, serpentine body that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. Her eyes were large and expressive, filled with an intelligence that both frightened and fascinated him. What are you?" he whispered, his voice trembling. The creature slowly uncoiled herself, emerging from the shadows with a grace that was almost hypnotic. She stood before him, her full height only slightly shorter than his own, her scales catching the light in a dazzling display of colors. "I am Kalia," she said, her voice soft and melodic, yet carrying an otherworldly resonance. "I come from a world far beyond your own." Jack swallowed hard, trying to make sense of the situation. "Why are you here? What do you want? And what the heck were you doing hiding under my bed for that long?" Kalia tilted her head, studying him with those deep, liquid eyes. "I have been sent to your world to fulfill a purpose. You, Jack, have been chosen. Oh, that was a nice, comfy spot to begin my egg cycle. Sorry if that spooked you." "Chosen for what?" "And yes, that was the most scared I have been in ages," he said with a shaky voice. Kalia stepped closer, her gaze never leaving his. "To be my mate." The words hung in the air, heavy with implications that Jack couldn't fully comprehend. He took a step back, his heart pounding in his chest. "Mate? What do you mean?" Kalia reached out, her slender hand brushing against his cheek. Her touch was cool, almost comforting. "Our species reproduces in a unique way. I have been tasked with finding a suitable host on this planet, and you are the one I have chosen." Jack's mind reeled. This was impossible, absurd, and yet, as he looked into Kalia's eyes, he felt an inexplicable pull, a connection that defied logic. "Why me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Kalia smiled, a gentle curve of her lips that was both alien and strangely familiar. "You are different, Jack. Your mind, your spirit, they resonate with something within me. I have seen the way you live, the way you think. There is a loneliness in you, a longing for something more. I can give you so much more, It's easy, just closes you eyes, and I will take care of the rest. Jack's mind spun with a dizzying mix of emotions, disbelief, curiosity, and an undercurrent of something dangerously close to excitement. It was as if a long-forgotten fantasy had materialized before him, wrapped in shimmering scales and speaking in a voice that made his heart flutter. A girlfriend. The idea settled in his thoughts like a comforting weight. After years of solitude, of watching his friends pair off and start families while he remained adrift, the notion that someone, or something, had chosen him felt like a strange, cosmic gift. And the best part? He hadn't even lifted a finger. "Mate," Jack repeated, his voice steadier now, a small smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "You mean, like a girlfriend?" Kalia's head tilted slightly, her expression unreadable, though her large, luminous eyes seemed to soften. "In a manner of speaking, yes, though our bond is more than what you would consider a typical relationship." Jack blinked, trying to process her words. "So what happens now? We date? Get to know each other?" Kalia's lips curved into a smile, though there was something inscrutable in her gaze. "Our connection is already established, Jack. In my culture, the process is expedited. We do not engage in prolonged courtship as your species does. The bond, once formed, is immediate and unbreakable." He nodded, still trying to wrap his mind around the situation. "Okay, so what do we do now? Do we, Kalia stepped closer, her movements graceful and fluid, as though she were gliding across the floor. "The process is simple," she explained, her voice a soothing murmur. "I will implant an egg within you. It requires no special preparation on your part. The egg will grow, and when the time comes, it will emerge." Jack's heart skipped a beat, the reality of her words sinking in. "Implant an egg? Wait. What do you mean? Inside me?" Kalia nodded, her expression serene. "Yes, our species does not require a womb for gestation. The egg will nest within you, drawing from your body to sustain itself. As it matures, it will move to the surface, where it will continue to grow until it is ready to hatch." Jack felt a cold sweat break out on his forehead. The implications of what she was saying were starting to dawn on him. "So, I'll be pregnant?" "In a manner of speaking," Kalia replied. "But do not worry. The process is painless, and your body will adapt to the changes naturally. Once the egg is outside your body, it will require minimal care until it is ready to hatch." Jack stared at her, his earlier excitement now tinged with uncertainty. This was far beyond anything he had ever imagined, and the casual way she described it made it all the more surreal. "And you? What happens to you?" Kalia's smile softened, a touch of sadness in her eyes. "Once the egg is implanted, my mission here is complete. I will return to my home world to live out the rest of my days in peace. My people reward those who successfully complete the mating cycle with a life of comfort and luxury." Jack felt a pang of something. Was it disappointment? "So you're just going to leave?" "It is the way of my people," Kalia said gently. "The bond we share is unique, but it is fleeting. My purpose here is to ensure the continuation of my species. Once that is fulfilled, I must return." Jack ran a hand through his hair, trying to make sense of his emotions. "And what about our child? What happens to them?" Kalia reached into a small pouch that had been hidden within the folds of her scales and produced a small, glowing stone. "This is a portal stone. When the child is ready, they may use it to visit my world. They will be welcomed as one of us, should they choose to come." Jack took the stone, feeling its warmth pulsate in his hand. It was smooth and light, almost like a polished gem. "So they'll be able to visit you? And your world?" "Yes," Kalia confirmed. "They will always have a place with us, just as they will have a place here, with you." Jack stared at the stone, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. He had never imagined fatherhood, especially not like this. But as strange and overwhelming as it all was, he couldn't deny a growing sense of responsibility, and even a hint of pride. "How long will it take for the egg to hatch?" Kalia's eyes met his, and for a brief moment Jack thought he saw a flicker of something. Regret, perhaps, before it was gone. "It will take several months. The egg will grow slowly at first, then fast, so be ready for a home birth as you can't go to a hospital. Too many questions will be asked." Jack shocked even more by this revaluation. "So now I also have to be the midwife? What else can I do for you? Maybe a foot rub. Shall I fetch you some hot tea and chocolate?" Jack's voice laced with sarcasm and frustration. "Oh, don't be silly, Jack. My duties are complete. My leaders will be giving everything I need when I return home. As one of the Cedars, we are treating to a wondrous life, with everything we need and more. So I am off now, back to my home world. Enjoy my gift to you. Remember to get some hot towels, and you will be fine. Oh, and get plenty of cow's milk. You're going to need it." And with that, Callias stepped through the portal and was gone in a bright blue haze flash.